The diner had always been a small pocket of sunshinewarm.com, and wrapped in the smell of fresh coffee and pancakes. It was the kind of place where people believed life still had gentle corners. But that morning, that comfort shattered like a dropped plate. Everything changed for Claire in a single instant. A burst of cruel laughter, sharp, unkind, echoing off the bright vinyl booth, scut through the room. 3 men stood at her table, their shadows stretching across her untouched breakfast. The biggest one, unshaven and dripping with arrogance, grabbed a fistful of her blouse and yanked. The sound of the fabric ripping was louder than the jukebox humming in the corner. Claire froze. Her breath hitched. Her hands shook as she tried desperately to hold the torn pieces of her shirt together. Fear wasn't new to her, but this was humiliation in broad daylight, a bruise on her spirit. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, in standing up for what's right, even when others won't, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Pure Hub Kindness. Because sometimes one act of courage can change everything. The bullies laughed harder when tears filled her eyes. One slapped the table, knocking her teacup to the floor. Amber liquid spread across the tiles like a stain on the moment. No one in the diner moved. People stared down at their plates, fear anchoring them in place. Claire wasn't just another stranger in trouble. She was someone's sister, and that someone had once been a name that people feared, respected, and misunderstood. Her brother, Mason, the man she thought was miles away with the Hells Angels. She never imagined that one day his name would be the thin line between her despair and her rescue. Then the diner door opened. A soft chime, heavy footsteps, a shift in the air so powerful, the whole room fell silent. Sunlight poured through the doorway, framing 2 men in dark leather vests, the unmistakable wings of the Hells Angels stitched across their backs. The leader's beard was streaked with gray, his eyes sharp but calm. Beside him, a towering bald man with a long dark beard, silent and watchful. They didn't storm in or shout. They just walked slow, steady, purposeful. And as they approached, the lead biker's eyes found Claire. His expression changed, flickering into something fierce. Mason, her brother, had arrived at the exact moment she needed him most. The bullies noticed the patches, their smug faces drained of color. The leader's smirk died in place as he released Claire's blouse like it burned him. His hands trembled. One of his buddies whispered, "We should go." But escape was far too late. Mason's boots thudded against the diner floor, each step deliberate. He didn't have to say a word. His silence was louder than any threat. The bullies scrambled for excuses, stuttering something about a misunderstanding, but the guilt was already written in their eyes. When Mason reached them, he didn't raise a hand. He didn't need to. Just standing there, towering, steady, unblinking, was enough to strip away every bit of their bravado. Finally, he turned to his sister. "Claire," he said softly, "come here." Her legs trembled as she stood. Her eyes met his, and in that moment, something inside her crumbled, not from fear, but from overwhelming relief. She had spent years believing strength meant handling everything alone. Now she understood that love could be a kind of strength. Mason slipped his leather jacket around her shoulders, shielding her from every stare in that diner. He never looked back at the 3 bullies. Justice had already been delivered without a punch, without a shout. Outside, the air was cool and clean. It felt like a fresh start. Claire glanced back at the diner once. The bullies sat small and silent now, their earlier cruelty buried under the weight of their own shame. She followed Mason to his motorcycle, the chrome shining under the morning sun. For the first time in a long while, she felt safe, not because her brother was feared, but because he loved her enough to stand up when no one else did. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Pure Hub Kindness, because sometimes kindness rides in when the world least expects it. Before we wrap up, tell us in the comments, if you saw this happening, would you step forward or stay silent? Mason handed her his helmet. The engine roared to life, not in anger, but in triumph, and as they rode down the open road, the world whispered an old truth. You don't have to be feared to be strong. You just have to care enough to stand up when others won't.